new
Ooh,
shirts.
from where?
Cotton something.
Unthreaded? That's what?
No.
Threadless.
Ordered 4 new ones. I'll have to check my email here.
All right, we're live.
Hello Twitch.
Hello, 3 followers.
Google Meet is now in Gmail.
Who cares?
Who's the third follower?
May.
The Cotton Bureau.
No, we have 3 followers, May. Jeff asked, who's the third follower? I'm like, my wife. If we get 4, it'll be my mom.
It's called the Cotton Bureau.
Oh, Cotton Bureau. Are we sponsored by?
Yeah. Should be. Let's make it happen.
All right. Are you ready? Episode 146.
Yeah, okay. Straight into it. No chit chat for Twitch. Okay. Nah, let's do it.
How do you want to do this? Do you want a Joe Rogan first or Joe Rogan last?
It's got to be first,
Yeah.
I think.
My Russell Brand videos are quite long, so my clips. So just a heads up, he just goes on a bit, but I think it's worth it. I cut a fair bit out.
Is it Brandt or Brand? I thought it was Brand.
Branty.
No, it's just Brand.
No, it's spelled
Brandt.
It's spelled BRNDT.
Is it? No, it's
Is
not.
it not.
I never knew that. It's Russell Brand. He's a brand.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Russell Brand.
All right, then.
It's not unless you're talking about another Russell Brand.
Should we go through all the names before we start?
I was just like, that's odd way of spelling his name.
Joe Regal, right? Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
Rogan Josh.
All right, so I've got the volume down a little bit. Should be no echo coming through.
Okay.
Hopefully, not sure. I think I had it really loud last week. I think that's what happened.
Just yelling at yourself.
Just gonna get rid of the chat. I'm just gonna get rid of the chat window here so I can see the screen. Okay. Evergreen. Okay. Intro. I'm gonna nail the intro this week. Watch this. And because I just said that, I'm not going to.
Yeah, you jinxed it.
Jinxed it. Ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. 3 and a 2 and a 1. Hello and welcome to episode 146 of the Naked Tech Podcast. It's a show that gives you everything you need to know about consumer tech, the internet, and all things eyeballs. I'm your friend Jeff Kim.
My name is Kelvin Lee, and I am subscribed from Disney Plus.
Aww, nothing to watch. There's like nothing in the Star Wars universe, MCU universe. I can't say MCU universe.
I'm gonna save myself $9 and come back to it when Mandalorian season 2 or something comes back.
What about all the Dave Filoni stuff?
I'll just get it from this podcast. And plus, there's lots happening on.
Speaking of podcasts.
Yeah, speaking of podcasts. Should we go?
Big news.
Big, $100 million big news. Joe Rogan.
I decided that I'm going to start with a clip.
Do it.
Hello, everybody. I have an announcement. The podcast is moving to Spotify. I signed a multi-year licensing agreement with Spotify that will start on September 1st. Starting on September 1st, the entire JRE library will be available on Spotify as well as all the other platforms. Then somewhere around the end of the year, it will become exclusive to Spotify, including the video version of the podcast.
JRE, who was that? Joe Rogan Experience.
What do you think? Do you think he should have waited for YouTube to come back with something better? I mean, I'm guessing Spotify isn't the only platform that went after him, right? I'm guessing Twitch probably tried something. Who else is up there? Maybe Twitter would have tried something. Is Spotify?
I mean, what is the arrangement with YouTube? Like, why would YouTube pay for his content when he's already on there for free?
Now he's going to leave and take everything with him, right? They could have made him a YouTube exclusive, like YouTube Red exclusive only. You know what I mean? And he would have to take down his content from, podcasting, would have to stop and things like that. So they could have made it exclusive, and Google could have afforded that. It blows my mind that Spotify has this much money.
All right, so I didn't realize how big Joe Rogan was. I mean, I think we both knew he was quite big. didn't realize how big. Do we want to go through some of the numbers? Currently has 190 million downloads a month. That's bigger than most networks out there, like TV, free-to-air
That's
networks.
half of America, right?
190 million. That is more than half?
Yeah, more than half.
It's more than half America. According to Forbes, he made $30 million alone last year on advertising. I mean, he might still get that because on Spotify, it's not entirely clear whether there'll be ads on top of him being exclusive to Spotify. So it's $30 million a year plus the 100 million from Spotify for their licensing cost.
Interesting.
That's kind of nuts, right? He's double dipping there.
Double dipping.
And
this doesn't.
But that's the model.
This doesn't happen immediately. This happens in October.
He said September, so I think he said September 1st. Okay. Yeah. So I think we kind of speculated whether YouTube will be coming down as well, but that is. So he's basically giving his audience, what is it now? We've got towards the end of May, so he's got June, July, 3 months, about 3 months to get everyone to move across. And you can only, if you want the experience, the Joe Rogan experience, you have to download the Spotify app.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have to pay for the premium Spotify to listen to this.
Really?
But you need the app.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm guessing he's dropping his podcast as well, right? Because everything goes on Spotify. It no longer becomes like a free to grab RSS feed like most other podcasts.
Oh, interesting question, Kelvin. So what do you mean by that? Dropping the podcast, you mean the RSS feed?
So you can only get it through Spotify.
Yeah. So for us podcasting gigs, that's what a podcast is. It's an RSS feed, which is open and anyone can use it. You can put it anywhere. So any of these millions of podcatcher apps, like the one we like is Overcast and what was the other one? Pocket Cast, yes. I just know it by the icon. I always forget the name of it. There's, Podchaser. I think our SEO is really good for Podchaser, I think, for some reason. But yeah, none of these players will be able to have Joe Rogan because it'll be some sort of magical feed that Spotify is going to introduce.
Yeah. And it's worth looking into, just going through the history of podcasting again. Started by Adam Curry of the No Agenda Show. And all it is it's a public...
The Podfather.
It is a public feed that runs off, one of these podcast hosts or your website like we do it. And you can just pick up a player to read that file. And whenever, Jeff does his amazing production work and he puts it out there, we put it out on the RSS feed. Your podcast capture tool, player just picks it up and it checks it once in a while. So it's free. It really still embodies the essence of what the internet was designed for, right? Like everything is out there. Everyone can share and learn. You don't pay for anything. So it's rubbing a lot of people the wrong way. Some people are saying he sold out, but to be honest, we all would have jumped on 100 mil. And people are saying he's being greedy because he's already making 30, but he's helping Spotify start off an entire video arm that could, that could one day rival YouTube. You would definitely do that, right?
Possibly, yeah. Well, I don't know about. At least, I think the video part is secondary to Spotify. I mean, eventually, yes, they want to get there, but like at least for the next 3-4 years, I think they'll be far behind YouTube. But yeah, I think Spotify might have that. I think we talked about it last week as well, like the interactive video format. Now you mentioned Adam Curry there. Like he was actually on his show about just before, well, just as the whole COVID thing was happening, and the impact of that to Adam Curry's podcast, No Agenda, is quite amazing. So I don't know if you heard this, but like they get about 10,000 a week downloads. After his experience on Joe Rogan, I think some 8 weeks later, now it's gone up by 18,000%. So it's like it hasn't just doubled, and this is the power of Joe Rogan.
18 times. Oh, wait, 18,000%.
180 times. 180 times.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's incredible.
I'd be happy with 18 more listeners.
So that's our goal. That's our growth strategy. Get on Joe Rogan.
I think it's worth now to spend a little bit of time to learn a bit more about Joe Rogan. And lately, Russell Brand has been appearing on my YouTube feed. Now, this guy is trippy. He's obviously into psychedelics, just like Joe is, so he can waffle on a little bit. But I thought we start off with this little insight. If you could play the clip on what Russell Brand's view is on JRE.
Obviously, my podcast is on Luminary. Some time ago, we sold our podcast Under the Skin to a platform, and I always felt a bit dodgy about it, because the internet space, you're used to getting for nothing. But YouTube, where you're probably watching this now, obviously, sells advertising. And Instagram, if you're watching it there, you're being corralled and marketed to. In a sense, as long as we all live under the economic auspices of capitalism, then those are the rules of the game, unless you want to set up exempted and parallel universes. Now, I reckon Joe Rogan moving to Spotify is significant. I reckon it's a game changer. I always fought for online subscription model podcast platforms to work. They needed to get Joe Rogan or someone comparable, and there isn't really anyone comparable. Maybe Mark Maron, but not really anymore. Rogan's a sort of a unique thing. It's going to be weird that his stuff won't be on YouTube anymore, and apparently I got from that, was it called Valuetainment, a very good channel, very interested in Valuetainment. They said Spotify are gonna set up a video arm just to deal with it.
Yeah, so what he's trying to say is basically you follow the money, right? This is capitalism. People are paying money for content, whether you are paying for Netflix or Disney or Stan, whatever it might be. Spotify wants to charge you for content, and they're gonna, if they want this whole podcasting thing to work out, they're gonna need a Joe Rogan.
Let me play a quick follow-up clip to that. It's a little bit funny. So this is from Joe Rogan's intro. So if you go to Spotify, up until early this week, you weren't able to search for Joe Rogan on Spotify, but now you can. This is what comes up, and this is at the end of his intro.
We're very excited to begin this new chapter of the JRE, and I hope you're there when we cross over. Thanks.
I don't know why I said that. But yeah, crossing over to what, Joe? So yeah, I think basically crossing over to capitalism and dollar signs. That's fine. He's done well for himself. He's obviously, hit something to the general public, right? So his views can be quite off center. He's a fan of Elon Musk, and Elon is pretty much close to being cancelled right now. He's got to be careful. And I thought by going on Joe and talking about how we should free America and all that sort of stuff, I thought I was really scared for him going into it. It wasn't so bad the last time, which was a couple of weeks ago. I've also been listening to a bunch of other podcasts, obviously, and a lot of theories about why, this is happening, why Spotify is so interested in podcasts. I think Ashley Carmen here from the Vergecast pretty much hit the nail on the head here.
The reason Spotify cares so much about podcasts is because with music streaming, which is what we typically think of when we think of Spotify, the company has to pay per listen. So every time you listen to Rihanna, they have to pay Rihanna's record label. With podcasts, it's making money on every listen, at least for its exclusive shows. And for the non-exclusive shows, it doesn't have to pay anything.
Right. So I think the licensing cost or the fee, I think, is the important thing here. So whereas Spotify, pays the licensing cost per listen, this is just, in a way, getting the biggest podcaster in the world. And I think people don't really see Joe as a podcaster as such. He's more of a video on YouTube. I think most people would watch it on YouTube. I mean, I do, certainly. His episodes are so long that it's very rare that, you could listen to that for 4 hours, right? I think some of those conversations go for 4 hours. So, this is a huge play for Spotify. They're being really bold. This is on the back of spending $400 million on acquiring Gimlet Media, Parcast, and The Ringer. And that's pretty much sort of the top 3 or 4 segments of podcasting, which is crime, murders, and sports, and Joe Rogan, which is a category in itself.
Yeah, and I think to end this segment, Russell has a very interesting view on why Joe is popular. He's a Democrat. He interviews people. He interviews some of the most controversial people on the internet. So play the clip, and then we can talk about what makes Joe special.
about this. I think he's an interesting cultural figure because I think a lot of what he's doing is men's wellness and men's spirituality. I think it's interesting when there's been controversies around Joe Rogan, like when he endorsed Bernie Sanders and the left didn't want that endorsement, or parts of the left. That, for me, showed that an interesting moment in the evolution of politics and somewhat the end of conventional left-right, liberal, conservative, right-wing, left-wing understanding of politics. Rogan, like, he has people on there that are the scourge of liberalism, but people, I think, whose voices you want to see in conversation. I'm well up for talking to people with different viewpoints from me, and Rogan himself has always said he's voted Democrat his whole life, so what is that? But what I think is significant about him is, like, with his connections to UFC and his interest in hunting and all that kind of stuff, and wellness and supplements, he kind of represents an aspect of men's health that men's health is usually about physical stuff, isn't it? Like, being fit, doing weights, cycling, hunting, like stuff to do with the body. But because of his interest in psychedelics, he's sort of in at least the consciousness aspect, and you could argue the spiritual aspect of wellness by virtue of that. He said before, like, that he would never call himself an atheist because, like, what do we know? And anyone who takes psychedelics, it just opens up a lot of questions.
Yeah, a bit of a long clip, but I never saw Joe as, the sort of the embodiment of men's mental, health and whether he was a strong spokesperson for that. I mean, I always knew he was into psychedelics, and that's what got Elon Musk into trouble because he was smoking weed on the podcast. And I never saw him that way, and I think, to me, the thing that stands out most about Joe Rogan is he chats to people he may not agree with. And he chats to people who necessarily don't have a voice. Like, he's chatted to the guy who does hands-on robotics, who's kind of odd, doing some of the best robotics, around. He's interviewed politicians.
Has Sophia been on it?
I don't know. But even Sophia might be too weird for Joe Rogan.
I want to see it happen.
But he's just got...
She's our favorite robot, by the way, listeners.
Check it out. She creeps me out. I don't know. He just has a way of getting people just to talk about their work, their projects, their passions, that a lot of people can't do, right?
I mean, we're trying to do some of that. I mean, obviously we don't have guests as much as we've had guests, but we don't not as much as Joe Rogan or some of the other podcasts. But I think this is the power of this medium. And if you think about it, yeah, sure, like a lot of people watch it on video, like I do, but like I'm kind of like listening to it in the background almost. Like you don't need the video, right? Like, and sometimes when they show stuff on the screen, like they don't actually show it on the screen. They're just sort of talking about it, about what they're seeing on the screen. But the biggest, power of Joe Rogan was, I think, this whole lockdown started when they had this epidemiologist on, like sort of early March, and that's when everyone started freaking out. And it was on the back of that appearance on Joe Rogan. People think that that's what sort of got everyone over the edge. I mean, there were a lot of studies done at the time, all this modeling and all that sort of hoopla, but yeah, Joe Rogan changes the world, just like podcasting. All right, so let's move on to, I think I'll give you the choice. Do you want Apple or do you want Facebook? Those are your choices.
Apple, I'll go for Apple.
Oh, okay. Let's go to Apple. This is another follow-up from last week because I definitely mentioned this. John Prosser from Front Page Tech. He's the young upstart leaker now. He was a YouTuber, just sort of general reviewer. Now he's gone into full-on leak mode. And the scary thing is he's been right the last few times. And he held his promise and put this out about Apple glasses. It's going to be called Apple Glass. So that's a bit dangerous because the last time something was called something glass, you know what happened? I mean, did it actually end? I think it's still around, but I know you tried Google Glass back in the day. Was it like, when was that, 2013?
2012?
2014?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Ages ago.
Wow, that's 7 years ago. That's crazy. So he dropped this, and I think I pretty much saw this video in real time on YouTube, and I think I sent you the link like 30 minutes later. But starting at $4.99 US. There'll be options for prescription lenses for extra costs, obviously. So they won't have sunnies. They won't have sunglasses because apparently they can't get the display on a dark lens. Both lenses will have displays. There'll be some sort of hand gestures that you can sort of hover in front of your eyes. There'll be wireless charging, or it's probably more like cheap charging.
That guy that walks around with like spirit fingers in your face.
Hello.
Back, forward, home.
Next. Swipe left. I wonder if you could just use your eyeballs.
That's dangerous.
I'm trying to do it on the Switch. Okay. Yeah, please do not do this while you're driving. Now, yeah, so he's going to say that they want to do a big announcement for this, and obviously the moment's gone because he leaked it. But this is John Prosser's theory on how they may announce it later this year.
Now, internally, they're planning this to be a one more thing type announcement. Now, the issue here is that they want the media present at the event where they announce these things. So, basically announce iPhone 12, announce the brand new Apple Watch, and then at the end of the show, one more thing, Apple Glass.
Yeah, so if they do that, impact is gone, right? So when was the last time one more thing happened? Was it the Apple Watch?
I think so.
I thought it was the Apple Watch. I believe it was the iPhone 8.
Yeah, but don't do that. Like, just don't. Like, it's so...
No, you can't do one more thing again?
So cheesy. You know what I mean? It's just so tacky. One more thing. Like, just don't. The leaks just happen now. I've got this, vision in my head that Apple is spending every dollar to chase down and close the source of these leaks. Because it's embarrassing. And I once worked for a tech startup that had things leaked out, and it was serious because this jeopardizes your plans for the year. Journos don't take you seriously, and it really jeopardizes business. So when a company like Apple, who prides themselves in being able to manage the press, this is a huge blow to them.
From all reports, they have no idea like how this is being done. They've been like Apple have been asking other journalists like what do you know about this new John Prosser guy? And yeah, it's a bit of a mystery. But I wonder Apple have been fairly good over the last say 10 years around managing the leaks. So like they leak for their own purpose, for their own gain. This feels like. Yeah, they just don't know what's going on. They can't control that message. They're getting some decent PR out of this, right? So there are a couple of products out there, some sort of, AR glasses. We talked about them over the years, but, like Apple does it, that's going to be when everyone else goes. Samsung has one, right? Samsung announced one as part of the fitness thing last year. I think the big... Because everyone's talking about, well, what's going to be the killer app, or why get AR glasses at all, right? I think we both agree that the roadmap is there for AR glasses. It'll eventually be the one screen for that. We won't even need our MacBooks or iMacs. Like it'll basically you can pretty much have a screen in front of you wherever you go, right? Obviously, that's years away in terms of having really high resolution displays on your eyeballs, but that's the future. This is going to be somewhat like maybe the Apple Watch. I've got Brian Tong here from another YouTube channel that I watch. I don't know if you watch him anymore, but this is his take on possibly the likeness of previous launches.
It also reminds me of the same exact process that they did with Apple Watch, a device that in the beginning was very dependent on the iPhone as well. I've talked to people who helped launch that product, and they said that they made the Apple Watch very broad at first just to find out how people were using it before they decided how people should use it.
Yes, I forgot to mention that this first iteration of Apple Glass will be paired with your iPhone. All the processing will be done with your iPhone, which is exactly what happened with Apple Watch, and to a lot of degree that happens now still. But you could imagine this is probably a good way to launch the product, and eventually when things are so miniaturized and you can fit all the processing within the frames of your Apple Glass, that's a game changer. But like this is a way to get people used to this sort of UI. We talked about how they might introduce some sort of ring or something that you hold. It could be a watch to control things, so that you don't sort of look like a dickhead
with your hands.
Being all Minority Report.
Yeah, I think Siri will play a very big part, but I also think COVID has accelerated the usage of something like an AR glass, because we're now we have to be hyper connected, right? Sometimes I get calls when I walk my kids to daycare. So, what's going to stop me from doing more work stuff while I'm doing other stuff, cycling, running? So it's going to change things.
Now, yeah, and now I've clipped a story here. It's to do with QR codes. I think you should probably bring that up on the screen if you can, because it'll tell the story. Because they've in iOS 14, obviously someone's discovered these new type of QR codes.
Interesting.
And John Prosser did mention something like this coming to the Apple Glass. So imagine this. So we know Apple Glass will have LiDAR. We know iPad Pros have LiDAR. Actually, the one other thing that I didn't mention was that Apple Glass won't have a camera.
Oh.
According to John Prosser, no camera. So you're not going to get creepy sort of glass holes like taping everyone. But there'll be a LiDAR, which is essentially like a camera, but it's sort of sensing the depth of objects in 3D, in your 3D environment. So imagine this. So I think what's going to happen is, like, as you point to things with your eyes, with your Apple Glass on, you'll be able to pick up, like, if that's a chair, that's a chair. It'll just know. And these QR codes, these will be either bring up certain things. So this is essentially bringing the real world environment and being able to click on things or bring up information on real life objects.
That makes a lot of sense. Like, if I'm walking through a supermarket and, this pack of chips has this new QR code on there, it will tell me how many calories it has and, nutritional factors and things like that, competitions. It'll be like a browser within that view, and you can see additional information wherever you look. Wants to stop me from having one tattooed up to my forehead, so, you can know what my email address is, or, like my business card.
That's a real thing that's going to happen. A barcode on your forehead.
Yeah, but
hello, my name is
people
Kelvin
still
Lee.
do that a lot, especially in Asia, where they still share a LinkedIn QR code, so they can easily get connected and stuff. This just replaces that.
I like that circular one. So it's not the cosmic one in the article there. So if you see the real world with these things everywhere stuck on them, it's not going to be so obviously, like, the QR codes have this, at least in Australia and the Western world, still has that stigma of who uses QR codes. It kind of looks like code, right? Or some sort of Go game. It's a Go board, isn't it? Essentially. So I think this is a smart play. Don't have an actual camera because that creeps everyone out. But essentially, you are carrying a camera to be able to read things. So you're reading. You're able to read computed things, but not take photos as such.
It's not a camera; it's a reader of sorts. And I think people will get comfortable with that.
Just during this segment, another rumor that has come about in the last couple of days is that they think that there will be a Steve Jobs Heritage Edition. So do you remember? Yeah, so you remember his glasses? There's another article that I've clipped. If you want to bring that up. Yeah. So imagine, I think everyone's got these, like, regular frames, black frames that everyone has, like the pair that you're currently wearing right now, but the Steve Jobs, the circular lenses.
Without the frame.
Yeah, it's a bit on the nose. I hope they don't.
There's no way they can do that, right? Discussed. Where you're going to house all the processors and the batteries and the LiDAR reader. That's impossible. Like, his glasses were so minimalist.
On the nose, what do you call that? The bridge, maybe?
Just have like a huge CPU, just strapped into your.
No, there's no CPU on these glasses. It's just literally a LiDAR and probably like a Bluetooth connection. That's probably it. and a screen.
and Bluetooth,
Yeah.
and Bluetooth
And
units
the
and batteries.
the lens is a display.
Yeah, but it still needs to process anyway. It still needs to process the lidar information somehow. It needs a CPU.
So what do you think? Do you think there'll be a Apple event, iPhone event in September or
I'm
October?
gonna go with what Ho Chi Minh said. It's gonna move back to October, and I think this is gonna come out.
They'll announce it in October.
I think it's too late now.
They won't come out until next year, but it'll be, if it's the same pattern as all the other new product launches, like the iPhone, iPad, and Apple Watch over the last 10, 15 years, it'll be next year.
Just like we predicted last week, you probably don't want to release these products at the same time as your iPhone, because people will just be like, "Ooh, $499. Should I get the new iPhone or should I, get the glasses?" You want people to buy the iPhone first, get comfortable with iOS 14, see all the cool stuff that new QR codes and stuff can do, and then buy the glasses. So
let's go to Facebook.
I came across this post on Facebook. It's a bit small on the screen. I'm just going to blow it up a little bit. Mark announces that they are launching Facebook shops. I'm going to get Sheryl Sandberg, who's the COO of Facebook, who was on CNBC, just explaining what it does.
So it doesn't cost anything, and it just takes minutes to set up. And the idea is that anyone can have a virtual storefront for free. On Facebook or Instagram, you can have a Facebook shop, you can upload your products, you can use messaging services to directly communicate with customers. And again, it's free, it's virtual, it takes minutes to set up.
So it's basically an online shop within Facebook. So it's like any other Facebook page. They're also going to launch this on Instagram and soon to be on Messenger and WhatsApp. So they're working with Shopify, BigCommerce, WooCommerce, Channel Advisor, all those big online shopping content management systems to integrate this stuff onto Facebook. And this is so smart, right? Like when you think about how Target in Australia is going to be shutting down 75 stores, and retail stores are shutting down everywhere, you can now just go to WhatsApp, look for some brand, and you can go to their shop in WhatsApp, and you can buy stuff, and you don't have to recreate a store in WhatsApp. They, if you hook up to one of these CMSs that you're already using, it integrates. That's just amazing.
I know you can, but will people actually do that?
You'd be silly not to. It's a whole new sales channel for free. You can see my inverted commas.
I mean, they have Marketplace already. So is it a big departure from that sort of experience?
Marketplace is for secondhand stuff where there's no control over the quality. You can see there is no user experience for adding things to a cart, blah blah blah. So this is different.
Okay. So are you thinking like banks will be selling their credit cards on this platform?
It's silly not to. I think it's going to lock people into an ecosystem that Facebook wants you to log into, and if it makes it easier, then everyone wins.
Right. I know Libra is something that we've talked about in the past. They have pivoted somewhat, going from their own sort of crypto into, it's going to be actual cash, isn't it?
So I don't think Libra is ready for prime time yet. I think it was very smart for Facebook to make it open source, more inverted commerce, so anyone can build on Libra. I think this is a good start, and we covered a story about how they were working with one of the big e-commerce stores in India. Was it Amazon or was it Facebook? Well, what you will see is just Joy something. There's going to be a lot of movement with Facebook, Twitter, Amazon to figure out how to transfer as much brick and mortar stuff online, because everyone's suffering at the moment. A lot of businesses probably won't come back, but they still evolve this product. It's got to be moved somehow. Everyone's staying online a lot more. Everyone's at home. Everyone's on their mobile phones. No one's going out. So, the biggest social network in the world wants to get in on it. I think it makes sense.
This is going on to Amazon's territory somewhat.
Yes. So, and you know what?
Yeah.
It's probably about time. Google has Google Shopping, although it's quite mediocre compared to what Amazon and Facebook want to do, but they could easily do the same thing and help customers. And can you imagine search for a t-shirt without having to leave the search engine results page? You can buy products on that. Can you imagine what that would do for Google? I think it's all up for grabs now. and this is going to kick it all off.
So okay, I'm imagining 2025, Kelvin. Walking around, you're on the streets because by then hopefully Corona's gone. You've got your AR glasses on, Apple Glass. You spot someone wearing a really cool shirt, and you scan that shirt with your LiDAR. You say, "Hey, I want to search for that in Facebook Shops," and it'll come up automatically. Like Facebook already knows your body shape. It'll work out your size, and then it'll just buy it on the spot like that with one touch.
Don't worry about touching. Siri will just buy it for you with Apple Pay. So, yeah, it's coming. It's like I said, you know, and I know people make fun of this, but COVID is probably, like you said it as well, the fastest tech accelerator we've had in a decade. it's
in 100 years.
Right? It's happening now. So,
yeah.
Everyone, if you are a small business owner, get onto it. Let us know what you think, and if it's going to make a difference to you.
Yep. We'll probably leave it there, Kelvin. I had one other thing, but I might save it for next week. It was to do with Microsoft Build that happened during the week. Some cool things happening. Probably save for next week because probably going to be another slow news week. But yes, let's take it out.
So thank you for listening to episode 146. We've got 145 other amazing episodes. Check out the website. That's nakedtechpodcast.com. You can find us on all the major social networks. Don't forget to rate us on Apple iTunes or listen to us anywhere, really. That's Kelv out.
Jeff out.
I think we should do one.
Did you hear about this fluid stuff? No, you didn't. Okay. That was what I was going to talk about, but yeah, I'll save it. I'll keep it up my sleeve.
I'm looking at Paul left a comment on the Twitch chat. He's saying, sorry guys, the buffering is unbearable. 1 second audio lag, 30-second video buffering. I checked it on my phone. It was fine. I checked it on the browser. It was fine. So if I seemed like I was looking at other things while you were talking, it's because I was like, shit, what have I done? So it looks like...
He might mean like my audio being a second late, maybe.
No, because I checked it on my desktop, and it was fine. So there was no buffering for me. I don't know, maybe he was downloading Civ 6 DLC or something.
Time to go NBN, Paul.
Well,
I'm on my 4G right now.
You loving it? Just imagining life on NBN?
Maybe one day.
Thank you.
Okay, let me have a look at this.
Twitch. Thank you, YouTube. Closing out. On that note.
Look at this. Did you see this?
What is that?
It's me.
Okay. We'll take that. We'll take that off Twitch and YouTube and have a look.